welcome to What's the Story? My name is Janice Hermson. I am your host, and I got a full crew today. Last week, I think I was minus everybody at the end. Ed showed up, and then our sound went out on his side, and I can't tell yet whether that was me or if it was your computer over there, because we didn't do anything, did we?
Nope. We went on break and came back and we didn't have it.
Yeah, it was very strange. Maybe I just neglected to push a button. Who can tell, right?
You have quite a few of them to push. Yeah.
So it was interesting. And so I did a portion of the show by myself, and Ed kept texting me. And then I didn't understand what you said. That was really terrible. I felt very dumb.
That's all right. It was tough. You all of a sudden had you were juggling four balls.
I was. Well, and I do shows on other shows by myself, but I'm prepared. I have my media set up. I have my links set up on the computer. So I'm prepared to do that. And when you had to go, I was like, oh, shoot, I don't have anything on this food thing. And I was going to rely on you for that. And there you went. But it worked out okay.
It looks like our food's going to get duller anyway, aren't they? I mean, they're taking.
Oh, yes. Right? Yeah, they're taking the petroleum out of our food. Go figure.
Imagine that, but they're also taking potentially carcinogenic, right? Like the red dye #2.
Yes. Yes.
Those things that are in Fruit Loops and Skittles and many things.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's.
I don't either. And if you listen to the, I don't know if it was a press conference or if it was some sort of a meeting, but if you listen to it today, they were talking about that the food companies, even the fast food companies, are coming to them and saying, "Hey, we want to jump in and we want to know what we can do."
Yeah,
that's good.
I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I'm getting older by the minute. However, I can't recall one single president caring about our health.
Yeah, I can say that I probably don't think there was one.
Go back to
nutrition or people caring about, illnesses and sicknesses. I just really don't recall any Surgeon General, other than the anti-smoking stuff, but never has that department been proactive at all.
Didn't JFK have a 50-mile jog or something that he was talking about? That's going way back.
That's a little before my time. I mean, I was around, but I wasn't talking yet.
Ay, ay, ay. So I just posted the question, do you eat cereal? Because if you do, the taste is going to change. So, it's going to be a little bit different. It will be what our European friends have been eating for quite some time now, right? Because they already have the formula. They just have to do it differently for us.
Well, Ed, you probably know better than anybody that aren't most the dry cereals, breakfast cereals, aren't they just about zero in nutrition for people? Weren't they empty calories?
So they're processed food, but they're fortified, right? Meaning they shoot vitamins in them, right? Or they're included in their mix. So a lot of things you can get like Power Bar or something, right? They're basically candy bars with nutrition in them, right? Depending, I mean, some of them could be, they're not all processed chocolate, they're processed oatmeal and grains and dried fruits, but they're fortified like milk, like bread is fortified with B vitamins. I'm not all for shooting vitamins into stuff. However, I do think it's helped folks.
Interesting. Let's go to our word of the day. I'm going to switch gears on you guys really quickly.
Boy, that just jumped up.
Yeah, so we have, if you go to hermson.substack.com, you will always find a picture on the day that we do our show, and it will show you what the picture is for our word of the day. And today I gave you an easy guess what this gentleman in the picture is trying to avoid.
Oh,
And
I thought he
It's-
was vaping.
he thought he was what?
vaping.
Oh, at first blush, I thought he was praying.
Oh, see, that's what Lenore said too. That's so funny. And then somebody else said, well, you should have blackened his hands if you're going to use that word.
Well, I get that, but best I know, he wouldn't be that colder. They'd be in a pocket or under his
I
coat.
thought the same thing, and even as I posted it, but it's the best I could find. So what can I tell you?
Well, maybe
So there it is.
maybe his tissue is degrading and there's numbness.
I don't know. So the word is frostbite. So he's trying to avoid frostbite. And that was the
You
whole
know what's
point.
wrong with that picture? You know what the best way to?
I'm going to make you guys pick the pictures from now on.
Okay, no.
No,
Well, this
you know
this
what?
represents frostbite,
She got that
certainly.
picture of
But
Hallmark.
you know, I look at the way he's dressed. Where are his gloves? I mean,
I
he's
know.
got
I
his
thought the
ears
same thing.
protected.
I was going to say something about that. Well, why isn't he wearing gloves if he's trying to avoid frostbite,
Well,
right?
yeah, I mean,
It's because of pictures from a Hallmark movie channel.
It does look like that, doesn't it? I actually got it from Adobe. It was an Adobe picture that I pulled that from. I usually go to Pixabay, but they only had like cartoonish type stuff. It wasn't very good.
Is this
So
guy
that's
an
why.
architect or a chef?
I don't know, but I think he's, pretty nice looking, right? He's an okay guy.
Well,
The
like,
boys won't answer. The boys won't answer.
if he's on the Hallmark channel, he has to be an architect or a chef,
Yeah, or something.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe a teacher.
Yeah. So I am recommending that you have your tinfoil hat handy. And I even brought my own. Just happened to bring something with foil today,
Oh.
so I thought I would throw that in.
Did
There's
I-
lots.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. I
No,
was
no,
gonna
you're
say,
fine.
Did I read something today or recently that Marco Rubio said you can defend your own space against drones?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't hear that.
I think I heard that.
Oh.
Read that. And so your tin hat brought that front of mind.
Ah, there you go. Well, I just got something that came up in my email, and it is saying that Jim Marchant is launching a campaign for Congress. I had not heard that
Wow.
until today.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, he says, I'm honored to announce I'm officially running for Congress in Nevada's 1st District. Like so many of you, I've stood up against the D.C. establishment when they turned their backs on the American people. Even with President Trump back in the White House, judicial overreach by activist judges drags out our border crisis while Nevada needs MAGA fighters to bring jobs back, lower prices, and restore America's energy independence. So there you go. Jim's back. He says, I am running to fully back President Trump in securing borders and putting our Nevada citizens above special interests. So if you live in District 1, he is one of the candidates that will be out there. Everybody's starting now, right?
Wow.
What can you
They're
say?
trying to get the early mow.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe you
Because
got some
there's
money,
Positive
right?
mow. There's
Yeah.
positive momentum.
It's true. It's true. And maybe you got some money, it's all about the money. Always.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but that is the game. So I thought I'd throw that in. My headlines today: time, space manipulation, lab leaks, UFO government secrecy, the military at the border. Got a lot going on this hour. So, if you're interested, hang in there and stay with us. And we'll talk about all those things. Did you guys read any of those stories at any point in time? The one about that
Actually,
the White House says it has technology that can manipulate time and space.
I'm still back on frostbite.
Okay, we can go back to frostbite.
Doesn't it amaze you that you have to have a headline that says frostbite is dangerous because?
Oh, that's interesting.
You couldn't figure that out on your own,
No.
Frostbite is a word like Kleenex that really doesn't need description.
It really is. But I'll tell you, there was a reason why I chose it. There was a sport that I found that relates to it, and that's why I decided that. And plus, it was easy. Everybody says to me, "I can't guess the words based on the picture." So
Well, one of the things that
I chose something
that I
simple.
did glean out of this is it says frostbite is actually very, very rare, fewer than 20,000 cases per year in the U.S.
Oh.
So I think people might be just a tad smarter than they're giving them credit for.
Perhaps.
Well, I just
I
can't.
mean, I think it's one of those things like the homeless have to avoid, right?
Yeah, I would think. Yeah, I would
I
think that
mean,
would
I would
be
think it potentially would be challenging living in a tent below zero
yes.
for lengths of time.
I would agree with that. I mean, I remember waking up when we went dirt bike riding, and we stayed in the back of our van overnight. And when we were in Gorman, that's in California, and it had snowed, and we woke up, and oh man, I thought I was going to have some frostbite. We were in a van that didn't have, we weren't like in a an RV van. This was just a van that carried our motorcycles. So it
But
was
doesn't
quite
it?
cold, but I didn't get frostbite.
Well, I would think, and I didn't see it in anything that we read. I think it has to do with a lot on the moisture in the air too.
Could,
If
yeah.
you're in a desert environment, yeah, it's going to be cold, and you're going to get out there, and
was
especially
cold.
like you say, inside a van or something, and you had covers. I think you're pretty much. You might be cold, but you're not going to get frostbite.
No.
I think they
Well,
talked
I think
about
if
it.
Maybe your beak would, but
They talked about it in the Winter Olympics on some of those long marathon, like shooting, sports where they have to do like marathon distance and shoot and different stuff that, yeah, their body parts are exposed and get considerably cold.
yeah.
so, I have a definition that I'm sure you guys did not find for frostbiting. And the definition is the sport of sailing in cold weather. And that's what brought me to using frostbite as my word of the day.
Sailing in cold
Weather. Yeah. Background. You may hopefully not, from experience with the condition, be familiar with frostbite as a noun referring to the freezing, whether superficial or deep, of bodily tissues, especially on one's hands or feet. But before frostbite was a noun, it was a verb meaning to affect or injure by frost or frostbite. We still encounter the verb often, but usually as the participles frostbit and frostbitten. The most recent addition to frostbite's part of speech portfolio is the adjective meaning done in cold weather, as in frostbite sailing, which was first recorded, are you ready? In the early 40s, 1940s. It won a single word for frostbite sailing, for brevity and whatnot. Here you go, frostbiting. So they call it frostbiting. So here is a quote from someone by the name of Knapp, and I don't know who this is. I probably should, but I don't. There are lots of fancy ideas about the motivation for starting frostbiting, but I say it's simple. The motivation was gin.
I see. I think
That
we
makes
need.
sense, right?
I think we need to look a little deeper into this. If you really honestly want to find out about frostbite,
Ting.
go to your local nudist colony.
Oh, Ed only Doug, right?
It is, Doug. Best I know, it's the hot springs up at Sierraville.
Wow.
That's as close as there is.
See, I wouldn't have known that.
Now you know.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody
Hey,
knows.
you heard it here first, right?
Oh, and I want to remind everyone, if you do have a comment that you'd like, that you're not on one of the other things and you don't want to comment there, you can text us at 775-399-2888, and that's at the bottom of the screen as well. And I'll make sure I'm paying attention to it. Sometimes I don't, can I tell you? Right, Ed? Sometimes I don't, because you texted me and then I didn't see it.
Well, it wasn't good timing, right? There was
Yeah.
there was disjointed communication then.
Yes, that's true. So, all right. Do you want to tell another one of your stories? Doug came with tons of stories
Yeah,
today.
I did. This one popped up, and I think it needs to be at the front of the program
All
because
right, you have it at the front.
Well, it's very informative. I think that we should be honorable and mention that Pope Francis did pass
Oh,
away.
yes. I did have a story here for that
Okay.
too.
Do
Yes.
you? Well,
I didn't
here,
put it on the post because everybody,
this, I think I'm going to give it, to give it credibility, I'm going to need to read it. And I don't generally like doing that, but why Pope Francis's signet ring will be destroyed following his death.
why, what will be destroyed?
His signet ring.
Oh, his ring.
Yes.
Huh.
Well, what do you know about it?
I
You
know
it's
nothing.
just, and everybody wants to kiss it. So, well, you heard it here first.
Well,
With the
Vice
history dating
President-
back to at least the 13th century, the fisherman's ring is among the most recognizable items of papal regalia. Named after St. Peter, who was a fisherman and, according to the Catholic tradition, the first pope. It was worn by Pope Francis as a ceremonial event through his 12-year reign. Now, as the tradition dictates, the late pontiff's signet ring will be destroyed or defaced, at least within the walls of the Vatican following his death. He was 88 years old. It's a ritual with practical roots. The fisherman's ring and pendant called and traditionally served as an official seal for the official letters and documents known as papal briefs. New ones were issued to each incoming pope, and the present letter or decree being forged posthumously, both would be smashed with a hammer upon the death from 1521 to 2013. This is precisely what happened.
So they
each-
smash it with a hammer.
Exactly. Well, each pope had his own ring, and it was dedicated to him, but they wouldn't pass the ring on. I think that's awesome tradition. I never knew every
I
time
don't want my
you
ring
well,
smashed.
isn't it every
Well, I
time
know.
you
Why
see
did they
somebody
take it off first?
every
One can only hope in.
yeah.
Sorry,
I don't think that's a good
No.
question.
You know what's funny for me, Doug, is you're right. I mean, Pope, right, by the nature of his job, I think there's like a way or circumstance or doctrine that he has to do everything, including go potty. That right, every step those people take are some kind of doctrine or some kind of, they're in some kind of process of something. And so every step and everything they do is measured. That must be a very difficult life.
Yeah.
I would think it would be. No matter who you are and no matter how much you like the limelight, you're always in the limelight. All of these people that
Yes.
do these things.
Okay,
I mean,
here's
I know the only one who would really enjoy riding in the Pope Mobile would be Doug.
here is something that's near and dear to my heart because it involves the two biggest and best fire departments on certainly the West Coast, but probably most of the country. And this is an LAFD, which is Los Angeles City Fire Department, and LA County firefighters fought at the scene of a fire.
Oh, they fought each other
Yes.
at the scene of the fire?
Like,
Yes.
fighting? Was it on TV? Was it pay-per-view?
Now, does that set up something?
You've got a picture in your mind. I can see it.
This Los Angeles County Fire Department, and there is between the departments. I worked in this very area that they're talking about. It was always good natured, but you always want, if LA City had a fire, you saw the smoke. Your obligation as an LA County unit was to get there before they got to their own fire. I mean, that is just what we did. I mean, and the same thing with them.
Wow.
We would love to steal a fire from them as they would us. So LA County Fire Engine
Your tax
Station
dollars at work.
173 in Inglewood saw smoke on Monday and headed in that direction. The engine was the first on scene of a car fire that threatened an apartment building within LA city limits, according to the county fire dispatch recording. Firefighters from the city and additional firefighters from the county arrived at the scene, according to the radio recording. A few moments later, city firefighters reported again over the radio, "We have an issue here." One of them says, "Do we have a member from the county or one member from the other department in physical altercation right now?" And I won't read the rest of this, but it's very, very simple. Well, how do you put out fires? You put out fires with water. So you have a fire engine from the city, you have a fire engine from the county. They carry 500 gallons of water. It didn't put the fire out, so they needed a fire hydrant. So the two went to the fire hydrant. Well,
Who gets to hook up
Well,
first?
that's where the altercation came in. They started fighting over who was going to get the water out of that fire hydrant.
Have you ever seen Fire Country on Friday nights? It sounds just like this. It's a total comedy.
Oh,
Wow.
what I like here, this is how the article summed it up. And this happened, my gosh, this is over a month old. Doesn't give a date on it, but I saw it a month ago. It is unclear whether disciplinary actions, if any, will be taken by either department. It says a LA representative said the incident is under investigation. Well, naturally, that's pretty common.
That's what
And they
would
would
say.
not comment on any matters that remain under active review. Response from a public records request, LA County, they said internal communications about the altercation concerns personal matters, so there will be no records produced for that request. So both departments have dummied up, and you will.
Wow.
And for 30 days later, I'm still searching this, and guess what?
You're not going
It
to find
ain't
a
out
thing.
there.
Well,
Okay,
That's funny.
now I
Don't they
have to.
a
This is
leadership void. I mean, didn't they fire the captain? They don't have a captain now, I don't think. It sounds
This
like a
is-
job opportunity, Doug.
There you go, Doug. Hey, let me go back to the Vatican for a second.
okay.
Okay, because I did bring a story. I'm just going to read a short thing here, because everybody was talking about J.D. Vance going there and all of that, and the fact that the Pope died shortly thereafter, and I could share a brief story about my mom, because we saw my mom and she passed like within I don't know, a couple hours after we saw her. When they called me, I was like, what? No way. I mean, she was just drinking coffee and having a great time. So, I mean, I've had that experience. I'm sure a lot of people have, where it's like that. It's like you just saw that person, right? How can they not be here anymore?
Yeah.
So, but one of the things that was written was about, and let me find the paragraph again. Okay. The Vatican said the two men met for a few minutes at the Domus Santa Marta to exchange Easter greetings. Vance's office confirmed that they met, but provided no further details. In all, Vance's motorcade was on Vatican territory for 17 minutes. That's it. 17 minutes. How long could he have seen that man if the motorcade was only there for 17 minutes, right? I mean,
They
that
got
just
a photo
seems
shoot. They got a photo shoot.
exactly. Yeah. So they
Unless they were
knew.
using a fake Santa.
They had to know that this poor man was passing, and they had the thing that he was going to be there. So they got him on the thing and walked him in the door and said, there he is. And he said, yep, there he is. And he walked out. That's what I think.
Well, one of the things that I don't understand, for the past at least 3 weeks, there has been a daily news blurb about how we're trying to keep Pope Francis alive. Excuse me, he's the Pope. Wouldn't he want to die?
I thought I heard that he did say that.
Really?
That's what
Well, I mean,
heard. Yeah.
that
thought
really
that's what I
sounds
heard.
facetious. I don't mean that. But when you get to
No,
be
but that-
88 years old, wouldn't you think, hey, the good Lord needs me. I'm done here.
Right.
Quit pumping me full of vitamins or whatever you're doing.
There's a lot of oddities around that whole thing with him,
Yeah, yeah.
seeing the demons and what is that? And why would you even talk about that, right? Did you guys hear about that where he saw the
Yeah.
demons from hell at the foot of his bed while he was in the hospital? What?
Yeah.
Why?
Sounds to
Why?
me, yeah, they need a little border control too. If JD Vance
Oh,
can get there and out in 17 minutes.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I mean, when I read that, I was like, what kind of messaging is this, right? 17 minutes.
Yeah.
There's a message in that somewhere. So,
Okay, I need to get back to the county fire department.
oh, we're not done.
This comes under you should really know this. And the name is Dick Hammer. Probably not a household name. It says like some other actors who appeared on the program Emergency, Dick Hammer was chosen because of his actual profession. A seasoned firefighter and a successful athlete in his younger days, he had already appeared in a series of Aunt Jemima pancake commercials before he landed the role. He says his part in the series came to an abrupt end when he quit the show during the first season. That meant he only appeared in 9 episodes, playing fire captain in the Los Angeles Fire Department. Okay, so that's the background of him, right?
He got
This is
tired
where
of
it gets
eating pancakes.
this is where it gets real interesting. Here we have one of our captains, handsome guy, is on Aunt Jemima, Emergency. Outside of Emergency, Hammer also was well known for playing the part of the Marlboro Man in an advertisement for the cigarette company in print and billboards. Does everybody remember
I remember the Marlboro Man.
Okay, and I'm gonna
Who could forget the Marlboro
I am
Man?
gonna cut to the chase here. Dick Hammer passed away because of lung cancer.
Of course. Of course, that's what they're going to do.
Well,
Of course.
How old was he?
the Marlboro Man.
How old was he?
What?
How old was he?
69.
Oh, well.
Don't say it. He lived a long, good life.
No, I'm not going to say that. No, I won't say that. I won't say a word.
No,
But he
isn't-
wasn't 50, right?
Part-
I mean,
yeah.
he wasn't 50.
But isn't that something? That's not. And there were.
And neither are
I
we.
think there were at
So I was
least.
talking about this with my son the other day. He can't believe that people used to just whip out a cigarette and smoke on the plane sitting next to you. He's like, no way, that really didn't happen. Well, at this time in these shows you're talking about, your doctor sat at his desk with a gallon-sized ashtray and smoked more cigarettes while you were there than you've smoked in your life.
That's right.
Hey, we've really come a
I'm
long
just
ways
saying,
with
it
that.
was a mixed
Yeah.
message time. They were wrong.
But I want to mention, though, that there are a lot of things that nicotine has been found to be good for. So I think that there's sometimes, what is it, throw the baby out with the bathwater. I
Yeah.
think that we need to really look at things before we say everything is bad about it, right?
When,
There are bad things about it. I'm not saying that.
When
But
both my boys quit smoking, excuse me, that's what I told them. I said, go down and get some nicotine, basically. You can nicotine lozenges or whatever. That will get you over the hump
Right.
and get you through the doodaddery of smoking.
I love that word.
Well, no, I mean, and it only takes 7 to 10 days to get the ill effects of the smoke out of your lungs and everything else.
Yeah,
But-
but the psychological takes much longer.
Oh, absolutely.
Much
So if you have the nicotine in there, you're not fighting the addiction as much.
And apparently it is good for stress, which is I think why I smoked anyway, was because I was stressed, and so I'd go pick up a cigarette, and then of course it became habit. But prior to that, I think that was the initial thing.
The only reason I smoked is because I was addicted. One of the
Not
things
initially, though.
I used to laugh at myself. One
Hold
of
on,
the
hold
There's
on.
not beverages with nicotine in them.
I
Right?
know,
You
I
can
don't
get
know.
Patches, you can get stuff, but it's a drug people could use.
Oh yeah, they could. They
Yeah.
could.
I mean, I use it the old-fashioned way, but yeah.
Yeah.
I
When
don't anymore.
when I first started to stop smoking, I would keep my cigarettes at the fire station in my locker, which was probably, I don't know, 200 feet away from where we were in the kitchen. So if I ever wanted a cigarette, it wasn't just a habit and grabbing one. You know, I had to go over to my locker, pick it. So what I found myself doing is I'd go over to my locker and I'd get my cigarettes and I'd put two in my pocket and I'd put one behind my ear and I'd carry one back. I go, well, I don't think this is working. Ed, what are we going to get for you to quit smoking?
I don't
Maybe
know, but
nothing.
it sounds to me like it did work. You got some extra exercise. You got like an extra 200 steps in there.
Yeah, yeah.
It's true.
No, have you tried to quit smoking lately?
No, I haven't tried ever, really.
How long have you smoked for?
I don't know. I got to say, I probably smoked cigars off and on, pushing 30 years.
Yeah.
But cigars is, I think, different than
I'm a puffer. I mean, I get smoking, you inhale and stuff, but
I was a
think there is a
3-pack a day
difference.
smoker.
Yeah,
I
I was
mean,
so I'm
two
not-
pack.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah, I
even
was two
compete.
pack.
I can't compete with that.
no, you don't want to.
No, I
Trust
get
me,
it.
you don't want.
But Janice, maybe you went through this. I think, oh my gosh, why didn't I when I was smoking? Why didn't I enjoy it more?
Oh no, I
think
didn't think
about
that at
that.
all.
Well, I did enjoy it.
I did.
Yes.
I absolutely
If
did.
it wasn't bad for you, we'd probably still be smoking.
I would be. I
Yeah.
will guarantee
Well,
that.
other than the fact that wasn't it nice not to have your entire body and your clothes smell like
I
smoke?
didde notice it though.
Yeah.
Well, other
I didn't
people
notice
did.
it.
Yeah.
No, I didn't notice it. And after I quit, I really was addicted because every time somebody was smoking, I was walking outside to go stand by them.
Yeah.
That's
I wanted that secondhand smoke.
Janice,
terrible.
That's exactly. I would be riding with
Should
somebody
not
in a
stop.
car and they'd say, "Do you want me to roll down the window? Get the smoke." I said, "No, I like it."
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
Ed-
Like I say, I know a lot of people now that actually get the nicotine thing because,
Yeah.
it does help to
Yes.
ward off some of that.
Ed, isn't your family
Anger.
on you to quit smoking?
My kids were when they were young, but I did a pretty good job beating them down then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about technology that can manipulate time and space. Because I wanted to cover this topic. A comment by White House science advisor Michael Kratsios has gone viral after a speech in which he claimed U.S. technology can manipulate time and space. So, and everybody's saying, oh, he didn't mean it. Why would he have said it if he didn't mean it? That's my question.
Yeah.
Why would he have said it? He said, quote, "Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow, and improve productivity." He said this during his remarks published on the official White House website. In the speech, he emphasized the importance of Americans' leadership in emerging technologies and criticized regulatory burdens that, in his view, had slowed progress. "We've weighed down our builders and innovators," he said, "but we're capable of so much more." So later, the powers that be are saying, "Oh, that's not what he really meant. That was metaphorical." Well, he didn't say it in those terms, and why doesn't he come out and say, "Oh, that was metaphorical," right?
He didn't show up in a time machine.
I'd like to see it.
So, right? I mean, best I know, like that, the things that would do that I'm aware of are like those accelerators, right? Those mile-long accelerators, jack around with that space, and then I don't know, maybe the space station, SpaceX.
Well, I just think that it shouldn't be discounted as not valid or not true when that's what he said. That is what he said.
I think it's a bit of a Trumpism. It's just an exaggeration. They can they can see it move like in a quirk of a second. I mean, but I could be wrong. It'd be cool. I mean,
President
maybe
Trump
if you
has
get these
added that there are
TV shows.
President Trump has added that there are weapons systems that no one knows about.
Oh, yes, I'll bet. And aren't you glad they're on our side? Well, I assume they are.
What I want is for the whoever the folks that make these comments to quit just saying, "Oh, that can't be true." Well, it can be true. We don't know if it's true, and maybe it was metaphorical. And that one article that I just read, they did ask for comment from the gentleman who said that. But the thing is, we shouldn't be discounting it without finding out the facts. So you can do FOIAs, you can do a lot of things to try and find this stuff out. I grant you, if it's secret, we're not going to find out. But if he said it, there's a reason he said it. He wanted somebody to know something, right? Otherwise, he wouldn't have said it.
Signal and find out what it is?
Maybe they had a conversation, right, with Hegseth?
Well, I'm just saying the information could be out there.
Oh, well, I just think that it's odd that we're always discounting something and saying, "Oh, he didn't really mean that." We don't ask him what he meant. Why are we saying he didn't mean it? Why don't we ask him what he really meant? Right?
I agree.
That's just my opinion.
The press doesn't do their job.
Well, we already know that, right?
It's pitiful.
I think this might be a pretty good place to interject this.
You have another story for us?
Yeah, this is, I got plucked it off the internet this morning. Marriott's CEO spoke about DEI. The next day, he had over 40,000 emails from his associates. And I read this article 2 or 3 times, and I can't tell you how poorly it is written, because there are assumptions that didn't take place, and they use those assumptions as if they were true.
It's like Grok does that.
Oh, that's for sure. Is that MSNBC or CNN?
Yeah.
I read an article.
Well, one of the
talking to somebody, and he asked the same question 5 times.
Yeah. Yeah, and still got it.
And still,
it says
they look anyway. You're right. Their base perspective is incorrect.
Yeah. Well, with Marriott, Fortune's 100 best companies to work for is listed in 2025. An impressive 90% of Marriott's employees endorsed the company, compared to 57% of others. That's really saying. So Marriott is well respected from its employees. A little bit later, while Marriott leaders have publicly said that they aspire to be a leader in diversity, equity, and inclusion. It didn't say DEI, it said it used those as criteria to motivate their employees or to listen to their employees. Now, everything else past that says, oh, Marriott uses DEI. That wasn't the statement. It was a statement that they do use some of those things in how they do it. So anyway, he spoke out, and his employees within 24 hours said, hey, thank you for talking about our company. It's a great company. Again, the article is they wanted to support DEI.
It's 2 things, though. It's private industry, and what's the worst thing that can happen? You have a bad night's sleep, right? It's not rocket science.
Well, despite the fact that DEI in some circles is a dirty word, or a dirty acronym, I guess, the fact of being diverse, equitable, and including things and people is a really good concept. And I think that's your point, yes?
Exactly.
Is that what I'm getting, what I'm understanding?
That is not the DEI model.
Right.
It is,
and that was what they were saying, is that they always used that concept in their hiring practices.
With their employees.
Right. Right.
So
They didn't need to be told to do it, in other words.
exactly. And isn't it
Those-
So it was a
amazing?
positive.
Isn't it amazing that 40,000 of their employees
Hold
stepped
on.
forward?
We're missing what you're saying, Ed, because you're getting cut out by us. Go ahead.
I was going to say those decisions that are made independently without government telling them are done for an advantage by them, and they make sense at the time. When laws get passed and they force it down your throat, it changes the discussion.
Right.
Well, here's a little side that nobody, or not too many people know. The owners of Marriott, or the founders of Marriott, were all Mormons. So Mormons have the reputation of being very family oriented. So
Right.
it all goes hand
Together.
in hand.
Sure.
The employees appreciated it.
Well, I think, and that's kind of, I guess I'll divert this story to maybe after if I don't have time. But I'll talk about what you're talking about, which is words and how we use them. I was looking for, because I do a lot of research before I do the show, and I try and find topics that people might be interested in rather than what I'm interested in necessarily, right? And so I went to Grok, which is the X platform's AI, and I said, tell me what's trending. Give me information on what's trending out there in different circles. And I identified the particular circles. So it did. Then I, said, so one of the topics was, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so you can see it because, hang on a second, because it was about this, which is, can you see it? Okay. See
Yep.
what it says there? Lab leak.
Yeah.
And so I said, oh, that's interesting. So that is a trending topic. And so I asked for some articles about it because I wanted to be able to report, right? Well, in the short of it is that it gave me, and I said, I don't want them divisive. I don't want them, all these different things, talking words, right? So it spits out these articles from the mainstream media, which is fine. And it said things like it's promoting this and it's, I can't remember the other term, but it was divisive terms, right? Basically saying that it wasn't true. By the words that they used in the headline, it wasn't true. I said, hold on a sec. I wanted something that's just reporting about this story, not giving, all of that.
Not
not an
not
opinion.
commentary.
Right. I didn't want commentary. Well, ultimately, and I have pages that I printed out. You can see, I don't know if you can see this. This is all the stuff that in my research, trying to get it to tell me it finally whittled it down. It even went through telling me, it hypothesized a story from the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it made it up. It said, well, based on the opinions of them and all this, you could have had this. I said, hold the phone here. Quit giving me hypotheticals. I just want factual material.
Janice?
It finally did. At the end, I got 2 stories that were factual, one from Reuters and one from AP, that did not skew it or make it sound terrible. It reported what was there, which is, hey, they're suggesting that there was a lab leak and here's why, and they're giving you the details of that, which is what you're seeing on the screen right now.
Do you remember not too very long ago that one of the things, it was just, you couldn't read without seeing this, where it said that there were 260,000 deaths due to secondhand smoke. So, that was propagated over the years, and somebody finally asked, well, where did you come up with that number?
They made it up, had to.
That's exactly what they did. They made it up. It was absolutely nothing, in fact.
I died of secondhand smoke as a teenager from my parents chain smoking in those cars with wings. Hey, you know what, Jan? If you go back to the initial, it says lab leak.
Oh, you want me to go back to the top?
It would look to me like, and get your phones ready, but to me, that would be the coolest vanity plate I've ever seen.
Yep, that's interesting. Yeah, so what they're saying on the website, and this is at the White House, so it's not like this is some conservative whatever. Well, although it is conservative, obviously the president's conservative, but it's something where they're sharing information no different than when Biden was in there. They shared their information that they found, and they're saying this is the origin. These are the different ways that this came about and what they found. And there's an analysis. You don't have to agree with it, but it shouldn't be shared in such a fashion that it's always negative just because it was presented by the Trump administration. And that was what was bothering me, was that you don't have to like them or any of that, but if there's information there, why not analyze it? Why not look at it and go, hey, here's what we found, and this part seemed valid, this part didn't. And these two articles did do that. They did do a kind of an analysis on it. They were still a little skewed, but they were pretty fair. Pretty fair.
One of the things that's
So-
happening is that the left side, the Democrats, they have had so many negative articles constantly. It is starting to affect the party,
Yeah.
and they are at an absolute new low. They have the party.
I heard that. I heard that they were like at 27%
Well,
approval or
and-
something.
Yes, yeah.
Jan, I used to hope for the same, right? That people on the left or in the middle would see the light. But best I know, we're better off when they just deny that Trump has any sense at all, and they just deny him. Their whole policy is anti-Trump, and look where they are. They're digging their own grave with with shovels. I think their party, even with all the media love or pretend love they're trying to jack up and all the
Well,
negative info
here's
on
a-
tariffs, they're
here's a-
still digging their own graves.
Here's a funny story about that, though. They said that the media was against them. There was a story that I heard that the left was saying that the media was against them. It just cracked me up. So I said, well, join the club then. Here we are. We're all together now. Now we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to share one thing, and I'm curious to know from somebody who is a more left-leaning individual how they feel about this. The White House on February 3rd signed an executive order delivering a plan to create a United States sovereign wealth fund. The executive order directs the Secretary of the Treasury and the Secretary of Commerce to deliver a plan within 90 days. So that would be February, March, April, right? For the creation of a sovereign wealth fund. The Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of Commerce will work closely with the Director of the Office of Management and Budget, all of that, and develop the plan, ensuring long-term economic competitiveness and fiscal sustainability. The creation of a sovereign wealth fund for the United States will help maximize the stewardship of our national wealth. What wealth? I thought we were broke, right?
That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
Pursuing national endeavors and magnifying economic growth. So yesterday I heard a story about the fact that there was some kind of fund with trillions of dollars in it that would equate to being able to pay every United States citizen over $1 million. So I'm investigating that a little further, but what's interesting is that, and Ed, maybe you knew this because you're a finance guy and I was a finance gal, but I didn't know about all the sovereign wealth funds that were out there that benefited their citizens and helped alleviate poverty. Did you?
Right.
Yeah,
So
I didn't know about
I
it.
don't know that they're usually widespread, but I know they exist, right? I mean, like
There's one in Alaska,
Alaska
Texas.
has a fund. I
Yes, Texas.
I
there-
wouldn't.
If they let in nuclear energy, spent nuclear energy, and put it in Yucca Mountain, Nevada could have one.
So New Mexico State Investment Council manages the one for New Mexico, valued at $23 billion, and is funded by a severance tax from oil and gas extraction. By constitutional amendment, 75% of distributions from this SWF goes to, guess what? Education. New Mexico uses this wealth to provide free tuition for all New Mexico state residents, regardless of income at all New Mexico state and public universities. Exactly.
But-
That's
but-
Alabama has one. North
but-
Dakota
but-
has one.
You know, the bottom line here is if we think this through, if everybody in this country, all 300 million of us, get $1 million put into our bank account, a rising tide floats all boats. Nothing changed.
I think
Well,
everything. I think everything.
I think it all
changed
changed.
because
Pardon?
I think you'd have the half of the
Yeah.
people that work now would quit work.
I think so too. I think so too. But regardless, there is a sovereign wealth fund that's being created. TikTok may become a part of that, which is what he'd been talking about, having the government own TikTok, which means that some of those benefits would go into that wealth fund and continue to grow it. And supposedly there's money, this money is from the 1800s, 1700s, somewhere in there. And so I don't have all the story, but I have enough of it to give you a teaser, and I'll keep researching, and do your own research on this, because it sounds to me like that's a real positive thing for everybody, not just for conservatives. That's for
Yeah,
everybody.
no, it's a really smart idea. Obviously, colleges have done it to sustain
Yep.
them over
Yep.
time. Certainly, the Ivy League schools, and I went to Ohio State. I know that exists. I sounds like a great idea. I'd love to have. Why not?
Wouldn't
have
that be
cash?
awesome? That would
Wouldn't
be
it be
awesome.
nice to be the U.S. government and pay cash?
Yeah, it'd be great. So anyway, that's how we're going to close this hour out, because we got to go. But we'll be back in a short time, and we'll do our second hour. And I've got some good stuff for that too. Think small with your audience. That's my little teaser for the second hour. How about that? All right, we'll be right back in about 5-10 minutes, something like that. All right, we'll see you in a minute.
At 8 o'clock, I'll be up and talking to us. Now, I just can't. Well, if you want, if you want something before, just come get it. I don't know anything about that, if that's strong enough to get microwaved or not.
What?
That pad of yours. That one.
Oh, yeah, that's what they're made for.
Oh,
They're made for the microwave. That one, I don't know if it works. That's okay. I've got my thin one that I have on my back in here, and I can just move it up to my neck, I was thinking. So that'll be fine. Or you're kind
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is What's the Story? This is our second hour. And for those of you who hung out and stayed with us, we appreciate it. And if you're just joining in, we are here with Ed Knoll and Doug Ashby, and I'm Janice Hermson. And like I said, second hour of What's the Story? So welcome back, guys.
Well,
Hey,
Hey, I
nice
can
to
hear
be
you, Ed.
here, isn't it?
what? I was prepared to shut it down.
Yeah, I know, like last week, right? My goodness. So here we are, and we talked a little bit about the sovereign wealth. I kind of rushed through that story because I wanted to talk about it quickly before we went off air. I don't know. What do you guys think about having things paid for us, but by monies that were derived from our country? How does that feel? Does that feel like socialism, or does that feel okay?
So I
I
think
just
it's
wondered
the
about that.
You know,
I think it's the ultimate democracy. Like I said, a good example, Nevada could do it. Now, they'd have to decide to take, I think, radioactive waste and put it in Yucca Mountain, but they could charge through the nose. They could have a sovereign fund. Our schools would get more money. Our infrastructure would be the greatest. And our state would have money to do projects and things that we don't have now. And I think because Alaska gets it from oil and natural resources, right? I mean, taking advantage of our climate and is what
Ed,
Alaska's doing.
what I heard the problem was it's not the storage of it, it's the transportation across our roadways to get it there. They're either going to go by rail or by truck, and that's where the hazard is.
Yeah, so they just leave it in 5,000 places piling up, just like an ash muffin. You know what an
Yeah.
ash muffin is? It's
No.
when you put so many ashes in your ashtray that it's muffining up the top. It kind of muffin tops the top. You've seen those before, I could tell. I call them ash muffins, but to me, that argument doesn't hold any weight because it's more dangerous sitting on site.
Sitting outside?
Sitting on
The,
site.
Oh,
Sitting
On
okay.
on
site.
site, the nuclear waste isn't being protected at all. It's just piling up at nuclear facilities because no one will take it.
Well, I haven't, excuse me, I haven't heard any big flap about it recently.
Well, it's
Nobody
because
seems to.
to me it needs to be somebody with some kahunas in the state government, the gov or someone needs to stick their neck out. Now I know it's not exactly politically hot to do so, but the fact is if President Trump says, hey, we're putting it there, it's coming here anyway, we might as well get something for it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And
Yeah.
about 20 presidents have said it's going to be here. Everybody since Jimmy Carter, right? There's been a plan to get rid of it. There's been a master plan to get rid of nuclear waste, and it was Yucca Mountain until Harry Reid shut that down.
You know, it's amazing. Have you ever seen any photos of actually where they keep it? Oh man,
I've
that
just
is,
seen some snapshots here and there, but I
yeah,
guess it's
that's
a
what I've seen.
grandiose
It's
facility.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, we have an author. He's passed since, but he wrote a book called Chasing Gas Hill's Yellow Cake. He actually, was out there doing this, and he said, yeah, there shouldn't be any problem with storing it. He didn't think there was going to be any problem at all.
Well, I
You
just
know,
think, I mean, when you look
That was
around
his
the
opinion, and
country,
he worked with it. So
there aren't places that are as dry as we are that have already got the tunnel's built. It's done for the stuff. No, I mean, just if you're looking at the geography of North America, or at least our space in it, we are a space, not to mention they've already exploded umpteen nuclear weapons above ground. I mean, anyway.
here's something. Do you know I read an article, and it's been a number of years, but there's 6 nuclear bombs that were not accountable. We don't know where they are.
huh?
Isn't that amazing?
That's a
You
little
don't hear anything
frightening.
about that. You know,
No,
It's a little frightening,
yeah,
right?
it is.
I mean, what, you're gonna
Well,
go down the street and all of a sudden there is one. Oh, hey,
yeah,
there's one of
and
them.
with what you're
Easter egg
talking
hunt.
about with storing it in Nevada, I wouldn't be that opposed to it, with one exception. I don't want it to be completely open-ended. I think that they should say we will take up to however they measure them, and then after that, no more. Because I don't want them just to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger with no end in sight. Let's
yeah,
put
it'd be
some.
nice if they had a plan.
Yeah,
I agree
oh,
with
that's
you.
the ugly P word, isn't it? A plan.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
to
go
me,
figure.
I
Yeah.
just think it would be a really good thing for the state if people could swallow that.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Hey, speaking of education, and I'm going to switch over to also about libraries. There's a piece that came out by Paul White today in the Nevada Globe, an opinion piece. Washoe County's library director resigned. I don't know if you heard about that, Ed.
I hadn't
He
heard.
he resigned, and the next step, according to Paul, closing all 12 of the county's libraries. So that sounds pretty ridiculous, right? I mean, on its face, why would you want to close all of the libraries? So his article goes into that, and he talks about the commissioners have the chance to consolidate our county's current glut of 130 public libraries. Doing this would pay off the majority of our county's $27 million budget deficit. At the same time, it would provide the commissioners a way to offer county residents 9 times more public libraries to choose from than they currently have. So his plan, only 12 of them are operated by the county, and they cost the taxpayers $17 million per year. The 118 additional libraries are operated by the Washoe County School District, one at each school. They cost the taxpayers not $1 more than the taxes they're already paying for our public schools. So the majority of the $17 million per year county library budget fund armloads of 68 to 85,000 a year librarians at each of the 12 county library sites. They work 7-hour days with full benefits and lifetime pensions and have very little library type work to do. The reason? Hardly anyone goes to libraries anymore, either to sit and read or even to check out books. Every type of reading material that exists is available virtually free on your phone or computer. The variety is limited and constantly updated, far beyond what any brick and mortar library could afford to maintain, and you can access the online reading material at any time of day or night. In the last 10 years or more, how many times have you gone to the county library to check out or read a book?
Well, the last time I went there to use a computer, and you know what? They had, I think, 20 computers or 25 computers. Man, they were booked up. There was a lot of people using the computers.
But they
there.
weren't using the library to go to the library and
No.
get a book.
Yeah, the last time I went to the library, it was to see how many homeless were inside getting warm.
Right. So,
Right? Remember when we
no,
talked
I
about
do.
that?
Yeah, I remember. Yep. So library employees admit they usually have relatively few clients per day, and the majority of them are vagrants. That clientele has no interest in reading books, but they have a very specific focus for visiting our libraries. The vagrants watch unlimited free pornography every day on the library computers. So that's what they were doing, possibly.
I thought they were
Allegedly.
getting warm. I thought they were staying warm.
Wait, he says they have a warm, dry place to eat, sleep, play on their phones, and take stripped-down bird baths and use drugs in the library's public restrooms. Our
Yep.
county libraries have become virtual homeless drop-in centers.
Yep.
Education Crusade has observed van loads of men from the CARES campus homeless facility. If you're not from Reno, there is a campus called the CARES campus, which is for all the homeless, and they are being delivered to the downtown library on a regular basis via buses. So closing the county-funded libraries is a no-brainer. Should be one of the most unarguable and logical decisions that the Washoe County Commissioners ever make. Our diminished county budget dollars are urgently needed to hire additional law enforcement personnel, upgrade our infrastructure, and improve our public utilities, protecting our drinking water supply, and much more. So it goes on and on and on. Answering the two most common complaints the commissioners would hear if they close the libraries. If they close all 12 of the libraries, there won't be any libraries for people not to use. And the answer is that's not true. They'd only be closing the 12 public libraries funded by the county. They wouldn't be closing the libraries in the schools.
Right.
So if the county closes its 12 libraries, children will lose out on many extra recreational programs that are now offered at the libraries. And he names what types of things there are. No, not true. County library staff gave a recent public PowerPoint presentation highlighting most of the activities the libraries actually offer the children.
That sounds like a Hitler move, right? They're always comparing Trump to Hitler, but closing down libraries. I mean, come on, that's our leadership.
But the boys, no, that's what Paul is suggesting they should do. But not all the libraries, just the main libraries that are costing so much money and being used by the homeless and not by the people. Right?
Yes.
So that's his
seems to
suggestion.
me like you ban the homeless and the people will come and people would use
I
it.
don't know.
People-
Will they? Would you? And would you? You'd go for the computer, but would you go for the books?
I'd probably go
I don't
for the
know.
same reason they went, a warm place and a cup of coffee.
So the boys and girls, but there are a few important differences. Boys and girls clubs and similar private organizations do the recreation part better and cheaper, much better and much cheaper. So that's his suggestion. And that he feels they should immediately move to do that. You can read the whole article. I read most of it, but you
Janice,
can read the whole
where
article.
where do you stand on that issue?
You know, I just heard about it this afternoon, and it's an interesting proposition because I'm a fan, obviously, of print books, and I think that they should be, available, but mostly to the kids and they are available. In his scenario, they're still available to the kids in the public school libraries. So they're not closing all the libraries. They're only closing the 12 public libraries that are not in the schools.
Well, the reason I ask is because I think that would be a boon to your business.
Oh, well, it might. Yeah, it might.
Because,
Yeah, you're right.
So,
Yeah,
and
because
especially if you moved in and you say, "Oh, you're closing this library?" Yes, I'll buy all these books.
Well, and I'm going to say that business, right, that the Barnes and Noble or that kind of business is taking business from libraries. Having
I think
the
so.
coffee shops. I mean, they can
Right.
do the exact same thing. They
Right.
have access to almost the same amount of books, and they
And a
can have
better
coffee in the
environment.
Danish.
Yeah, better environment.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Debbie and I will periodically, usually once a month or so, we'll go to a bookstore and buy a book.
Right?
Then we don't have to worry about returning it.
Yep.
Oh.
And people, people buy books online. There are just so many different avenues to get a book. And the library's even doing things online. They're buying ebooks so that people can read their books online.
I can tell you
So-
right now where the flack is going to come from. This affects the poor.
Well, I don't know because I don't know. I guess that's my answer. I don't know. I think I'd like to look into it more. I'd like to read the whole article in
Janice,
full.
When something has come from the left, you don't need to know. It's just going to be negative. And there's a 50-50 chance on whether it'll be accurate or not.
I don't
know.
think I understand what you're referencing, so I can't comment. So let's see, where are we? We got a little bit of time here. So let's talk about, we didn't talk about UFOs in the last hour. And I had an article which actually kind of bounced off the one about the time-space manipulation. And last year, a wide variety of UFO stories were in the news, including reports from military veterans who claimed they personally saw objects rise out of and my thing cut off. Yeah, that's going to be a surprise. So it's now a regular occurrence to see weird lights in the night sky performing odd maneuvers, such as a recent incident in Vancouver. So Dr. Stephen Greer, who is, see if we can find his credentials here. Recognized expert on controversial issues, working with a variety of organizations. They're not telling me what he does, though. Former emergency room physician, prominent figure in the field of UFO disclosure and extraterrestrial research. But I don't know that anybody has really a credential for UFOs, do they? I don't know. Maybe the military.
I got a small patch on my school jacket.
There you go. That's perfect. Yes, so he's best known as the founder of the Center. Well, maybe he has some credentials. Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence and the Disclosure Project. Initiatives aimed at urging the U.S. government to reveal alleged classified information about UFOs and extraterrestrial contact. So where do you guys stand on that? Do you think that there is something out there, or do you think that this is just a bunch of bunk?
A friend of mine once told me, he says, let's talk about looking up in the sky. He says,
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's
a
Superman.
handful of sand and throw it across the table. And then at the very bottom of where you threw that, take one of those grains of sand. That's our universe. That's how massive the world, the space is. So with that as a massive, just a massive body, why couldn't there be other sources?
I'm open to it, and I think there's tons of unexplained phenomena that we just don't know what it is yet.
Right. Well, he's claiming a covert, illegal shadow government exists within the United States. Reminder about the tinfoil hats.
Well,
this is an X-File thing.
I don't know. I'm just kind of reminding you that I said tinfoil hat time. Okay. Exists within the U.S. national security apparatus, operating outside legal and constitutional authority. The rogue structure disregards legal oversight, including Congress, the president, or lawful warrants. And he insists the Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive contains evidence vital for policymakers, but he has been ignored by officialdom. And he encourages people to contact their representatives and demand access and review of this information. So he's alleging that anti-gravity and advanced technologies, some reverse engineered from the extraterrestrial craft, have existed since at least the mid-50s. But I think I know I grew up with that knowledge that people claim that, right? Didn't you guys?
Yeah.
Well, this is what I read. And the way it was written would make me not believe in UFOs. This had to do with a UFO in Russia. It says the aliens reportedly emerged from the wreckage, fusing together into one object and bursting into a bright light, turning all but two of the soldiers to stone.
Oh, that's like the Bible. I'm thinking that's the Bible, man.
Exactly what I thought.
I'm thinking I'm turning around and I'm stone, right?
Not too
I can't remember who that was, but I remember the woman. Who was it?
No, with the way that was written, I go, no, I'm not buying this.
But
All right.
I'm open that they see stuff that they don't know what it is. I mean, and I'm open to, like Doug said, I mean, mathematics has to be on our side. There's life somewhere else.
Well, and here's the problem with all of this stuff, whatever he's saying, whether it's about the UFOs or the government or whatever, so much of it is probably true. We just don't know which pieces are true, right? I mean, I think that there's false in here and there's true in here. We just don't know which ones are true and which ones are false, right?
Why would the government choose not to tell us?
Why would the government put a bunch of garbage in our food and not tell us?
Yeah.
And let our children get ill?
But
why would they do that?
Well, why
Right. Why
wouldn't
would
they?
they
Why,
keep MLK and JFK things for 50 years, 60 years, 70
Yeah,
years and not show the American
right.
people? It's
Why did
because our government has not been on our side. Our government has
why did
not been our
Pfizer
friend.
why did Pfizer want to hide their information about what was in the vaccine for 75 years? They didn't want it released for 75 years.
I can answer that. It's very simple. We talked about this all the time. Follow the money.
Right, but that's the point. So that you've answered your own question.
Yeah.
Why would they do these things?
Well,
There's got to be money
what you
involved.
with UFOs? What the masses can't be trusted with information about
Of course not.
UFOs?
We're morons.
Yeah, that's
I
I
do believe that the political class believes
here's
that to be true.
I do
But
too.
here's to me is
I
a
agree.
question. If you just say for some just you're a UFO driver, you have this you have
I'm
this
a UFO driver.
yeah,
Is
you
that
have
the job?
this spaceship that you're in, this flying
have you ever
saucer.
driven a zero
Why
turn
would you
mower?
land
It's
out
kind of
in the
same.
middle of the desert and not over in New York or in California or in a big city? Why would you choose a desolate place like a desert? Well, gee,
So nobody sees you.
they're so smart. They
I
they
think don't you think they're just using the Earth as a rest area? They probably had to take a piss.
He does. He does say. I don't know if we can say that.
yeah.
Historical and presidential. I don't know. I just
You
don't
know,
know. I'll have to check that one.
Ed might be onto something. Matter of
Jimmy
fact,
Carter
that's,
was
you know,
denied. So
that-
Jimmy
I-
Carter was denied access to UFO information after requesting it during his presidential transition. Reagan was manipulated into supporting SDI under the belief there was an alien threat. Obama was never read into the deep aspects of the program. Greer says his Netflix series on UFO abductions promotes disinformation, and Trump was similarly deceived by embedded briefers during his presidency. So your evaluation of why it says more than politics. When you talk about it's all about the money, it must be because this is right and left, and it doesn't seem to matter, right?
Yeah.
None of them are being told.
Yeah.
So it's not a political thing. It probably is, I would guess, a
That's
money
probably
thing.
the big beef with Boeing. They're going, come on, Boeing. We gave you all this anti-gravity technology. You got all this alien stuff. Get your crap together.
Yeah, and who's really the people that are getting all this money is the question. Because if it's not our politicians at the top, who is it? Right?
Well,
I mean, that is the question.
so they're probably putting it just like Tang, right? It probably had some of that stuff, right? The beverage of the astronauts, Tang. So they also put all, and microwave ovens, I think, are a product of space, but that's our own technology supposedly. But microwave popcorn probably was alien.
Oh, especially, yeah, the kind that comes in a tinfoil bubble.
So he does talk about that there's technological proof and UAP, which is the new UFO term, capabilities explaining the Tic Tac UFOs. I don't know if you guys saw the stuff on the Tic Tac UFOs. So
I think I saw the picture.
yeah, I saw a little bit of that. Greer discusses Tic Tac UAP footage and other verified accounts as evidence of electromagnetic propulsion, not conventional propulsion. These craft leave no heat signatures, can make 90-degree turns, and operate beyond many known aerospace physics, and some are man-made alien reproduction vehicles. They even have an acronym for that, ARVs, developed by Lockheed, Northrop, and others. Others are genuine ET craft. So he's done a whole episode called Disclosure, which was featured on Amazon Prime. So if you're interested, maybe you go find that. Disclosure by Greer is his last name. I think it was Richard, wasn't it? That's what sticks in my head. Nope, Stephen. Sorry, Stephen Greer, UFO expert. So you can look for Disclosure and see if maybe you can find something about that. I don't know.
Awesome.
I saw when I was out talking, that whole Gorman story that I was telling you. I saw something in the sky that I would have said was a UFO. Because you're in the desert, you can see everything right in the sky. And I mean,
Yep.
this thing was going fast. It was really, really, really. It was just amazing. And that was like in probably probably early '80s, maybe late '70s. So I don't know. I don't know
It's
if I believe
probably
it or
the
not.
stealth bomber. I think a lot of UFO sightings are military tests, right? Test craft.
So Suzanne says the North Valleys were denied having their cabs at the library. So you couldn't even like use the libraries is what she's saying. That they couldn't even use them, talking about our library story.
because
So
because they weren't open, or
I don't know. They were just denied having their I can't remember what cab. What does that stand for? Come on, give it to me.
cab. I thought you were talking like yellow cab, like I
You're
thought
so
it was like
funny.
I thought it was like a travel service couldn't go there.
It's a meeting.
Oh,
Yeah, the travel service can go there. There's so many things that stands for.
it does, and
Uh,
that's our government. I'm telling you, I'm being out and I'm seeing the other
Come
side,
on,
and
Suzanne, give me the name for that cab.
it's remarkable how mm, 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 like
It's
I
an
don't know.
advisory board, probably, is my guess. Some sort of advisory board. Yeah, there's so many acronyms for that. So, but I know it's a local meeting. I do recognize Citizen Advisory Board. See, I was right about the advisory board. Thank you so much. Citizen Advisory Board. And it was because of funding cuts. So, thank you,
Funding cuts,
Suzanne.
they weren't
Appreciate
open.
that.
I mean, to come and use a room cost money.
They said,
I mean,
yeah,
it doesn't.
because they have to have staff, probably. You have to have staff there, right?
Well,
So
you got
you
to have
can't.
somebody have the doors open.
Well, maybe it was after hours. That would be my guess too.
Oh, just think, if we close the libraries, that's probably the number one destination of a UFO.
Just think if you're
You're going to tie
just
our
think
stories together.
just think if your government worked for the people.
Oh, come on.
Everything that benefits the people there, they don't do. And I will say that the opposite is true here in Florida of what I noticed, right? Rule of law, people first. It's a fabulous thing. It's just not in Nevada. They don't. The government there, city government, county government, doesn't care about its people.
Mm. Well, here we go. Let's talk about, because I also talked about this, the military at the border. Is that a conspiracy theory? It is not. The U.S.,
No,
no, it's not a conspiracy theory. Copilot says over 600 soldiers and airmen deploying to the southern border to assist in operations against illegal immigration. Pentagon is sending about 3,000 more active troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. Various military units, including 89th Military Police Brigade, are already stationed at the border. And then you've got the Texas military, and an agreement with Mexico has also added 10,000 Mexican troops. Did you have
yeah,
something
there's
to
a
add?
strip of land down there, and best I know isn't. I mean, Mexico owes Texas a bunch of water too.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, they owe Texas. I mean, it's part of an agreement, the border agreement that, kind of long ago got forgotten, but now it's getting all dredged up. But Mexico has to deliver a certain amount of water to South Texas that they haven't done in years.
Wow. So Suzanne says that as far as, I guess, because of the election, voted them down. So they voted down having the citizen advisory board meetings at the library. I'm presuming from what you're saying. So yeah, that's stinko. That's stinko. But yeah, we got military at the border, whether you like it or not. They are there. I
What's
did hear a
what
report.
I don't know if I understand. Why would somebody be opposed to having military on the border?
I guess because they feel the military isn't supposed to be there, that they're only supposed to fight wars. Is that what I'm understanding?
Oh well, Well, Janice, that could be very true because there's a word for that, and I can't remember what it is. That
So Doug, and you guys, I know you're likely a world traveler. If you travel and arrive at any other airport, I mean, say not London, but you might see them at London too. You look out on the tarmac, there are military folks with machine guns around their necks. In every airport you go into around the world, doesn't matter where.
well, there is in the Constitution, I'll say, for lack of a better place to give it credit, is that you can't use the military for domestic operations. But I think protecting our
this,
borders is not
yeah.
domestic. It's
Well, I
national
think this was
security.
that 1700 law. I believe that's what gave him the ability to do this. An initial wave of 1,600 troops was deployed, and this was January 27th, 2025. But because we were talking conspiracy theories, I thought I'd throw it in because, people didn't know necessarily that they were there. The border mission has become the Defense Department's top priority, and the 1,600 may likely be just the beginning as Donald Trump eyes a historic crackdown on immigration. So Hegseth said that whatever's needed is going to be provided, and that the 82nd Airborne's Division 3rd Brigade combat team out of Fort Liberty, North Carolina, has been preparing for mobilization since last week. So that was, like I say, at the end of end of January. And they're joining some 2,500 National Guard. So, and obviously everything has slowed down as far as people coming across the border and planning to come across the border because they know they're not going to be able to make that trip. So
Yeah.
that has changed things. And one can only hope that if they really need asylum, that they will come and they will ask for asylum. And, if they need it, they'll be granted it, right? I mean, that's the whole idea. And so anyway, this article here, military.com, outlines it pretty nicely and tells you the different active duty Army units on the border mission and where they are from.
They'll probably send
So,
those National Guard folks home too.
yeah, I would guess, right? Because
Yeah.
if they're there, they wouldn't need to have the
Well,
National
they've been
Guard
there
there.
for a while.
Right, right,
They've done their job.
right, right. Yeah, and I agree with you, Doug. I mean, why would you object to protecting our border? I don't understand it either, other than, as I say, them saying that they're only supposed to go to war. Well,
As it's turning out, the left is contrarians now. If you say it on the right, they're going to be opposed to it on the left. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter in merit.
they're just anti-Trump. I don't think it's a policy, but yeah, if he moves steps left, they step right. But I
Yeah.
think it's just intimidation. Those folks are just down there just as a show.
you think
Oh,
so?
the military?
Well, what else they got to do? There's nobody coming through there.
Well, not now, but when they first sent them out in January, they were there. The
But
people
isn't
were
that
still
the-
coming
But
over.
it sounds to me like
Ed?
the between ICE and DEA and the Border Patrol that they've had enough people to make an impact.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that the best protection you can have? Is just visual. They don't need to do anything. People just see the military there, and that's a deterrent. I think that's the
I
best
think
you can
so.
have it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's effective, and obviously Mexico, if we're to believe, I mean, they have their 10,000 troops on the border too. So
Right.
both
Between them.
countries,
Yeah.
both countries saying "not in my backyard" kind of sounds like I haven't heard of any new caravans on their way.
No, in fact, I've heard just the opposite, that they've stopped. That those caravans have stopped because they recognize that they're not going to get across.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so let's talk a little bit for my writers and my readers out there. The power of small audiences and why that's important. So, you know, when you're doing a business or when you have a book or whatever you're trying to promote, you always think about bigger is better, right? You want to have as many as possible. According to this particular article, which is called Meet Edgar, The Power of Small Audiences, if you look at most commentary, that answer would be yes. Everything is about a bigger audience, more followers, higher reach. Social media influence is too often defined by how many people like your stuff, right? But recent trends are signaling a change. And let me see when this was written. That was early on. Anyway, so you don't need millions of followers to see success. You don't have to be solely focused on attracting more and more people to your content. You can start seeing results from your audience now. So you're probably thinking, that it doesn't matter how many followers I have. And that the answer is yes and no, right? Well, and it's kind of confusing, but when you think about it, if the followers are not going to buy and you're selling, then having a lot of followers doesn't really matter, right? If they
That's
aren't
true.
interested in your content,
Yeah.
right?
You need to change the like button to buy.
That's a good idea, Ed.
Have it flash.
Yes. So if you're a content creator or you're building a business, you should always be looking to expand your reach. That's automatic, right? You'll always want more people to know about you, your message, or your business. If you want to grow, your audience will need to grow. But growing that audience doesn't necessarily mean that your business or content will grow with it. And, he says, read that one more time, right? Because having a big audience doesn't always translate into massive sales. The key is to have an engaged audience. So 100 engaged people is much better than 10,000 followers that aren't engaged at all, that are just
But
there.
you don't have that choice. You
What do you
can't
mean?
say, well, give me 100 engaged people.
Well, but that's the point
So
is that
you
you
got to
shouldn't,
make them engaged
right,
through like what Jan and I have
right,
done over the years, the
Well,
networking
that's
groups,
right.
that's that's the essence of any public speaker.
But it's
Draw
not
your
about
you can
people
public
in.
talk,
speaking
but if
necessarily.
you can touch those people in that kind of way and then hold an audience of 100 the same way, you can impact the world.
Right. So the point is that more is not necessarily better if they aren't the right kind of more,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, I
You,
would agree with that.
yeah, you need to
Yeah.
have, if you have 97 Twitter followers, you might be in a better place to see results than someone with 9,700 Twitter
Well,
followers, right?
that's like going to the depths of the desert and trying to sell lawn. You know,
Right, right.
it's the wrong area, the wrong time.
Right. So, so the point here is that we have authors come in all the time and they have their book and they have no following at all. They've just written their first book. I'm meeting with a couple of guys next week or two, that both are in the same position. Brand new books, they just wrote them. They don't know what the next steps are. They don't know what to do, right? They have no following. They have family, they have friends. That's about all they've got. So for them, something like this, it might seem like, oh, I've got to have 1 million, right, in order to make this work.
Janice, I'll tell you, if I'm picking, I'm going with the volume.
But you're going to go with more.
Yes.
But what if none of them buy?
Well, I don't know.
How do you get them engaged?
When
More
you're
is
talking,
not
when
you,
you're talking about 2 blocks of people, you don't know what you're getting.
right.
I would
It's
take a big block of people versus a small block and
it's
hope for the
alien
best.
technology. You got to reverse engineer it. Jan has to sell the influencer on writing a book, and bada boom, bada bing, he's got a system.
Right. Right. So
right, right. You get it.
yeah. So his take on this is, let's see, it's easier to build your know, like, and trust factor with a smaller audience.
Yeah.
So think about someone you've only met at parties versus someone you've spent one-on-one time with. The person you've met at parties is probably someone that you're friendly with, but you don't actually know much about them and they don't know much about you. I sat with somebody today that I've known for years, And he had no idea. He was sitting in looking at our poster and he goes, I didn't know you did all that, but because he never, he said, oh, you need to advertise more. Well, that's really not the answer. He isn't my client. He isn't like a potential client even. But the fact of the matter is that he just never paid attention to what I do. We were friendly on for other reasons, and he just never paid attention. So the person you've spent one-on-one time with, which is proven by my conversation today, is probably someone you consider a friend. They love pineapple on their pizza. They know you're an excellent rollerblader. You have built a connection based on that one-on-one time together. So if both of these people start selling cupcakes, who are you more likely to buy from, right? Are you going to buy from the guy you're friendly with? You're going to buy from the guy that you know. You're going to buy from the guy you know, most of the time. Not always. Sometimes you may not like the guy you know.
It depends on if he's got that Boston cream.
That's right.
Well, Janice, if I understand what you're saying, if you
The
wanna,
person you trust more.
well,
right?
if you want followers, say to repair cars, and you had two choices, supermarkets or parts supplier, which would you choose?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go to-
naturally,
yeah,
and that's
parts
in
supplier,
essence is
obviously.
what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Well, and I'm also saying that there's some trust building that goes on, which is what Ed was talking about. We did a lot of networking, and the idea was, we joined, well, how Ed and I met, right? Which was through a referral group.
Right.
I would never have, known Ed. He did mortgages. I wasn't in mortgage at that time. I was doing publishing. Why would I know Ed? Right? But
Yeah, we
go ahead.
right. Our desire to go out and talk about ourselves, brought us together.
Right, right. So you build trust with a smaller audience. It's easier for you to engage with them, and you can build it a lot faster than if you've got the masses that just don't care, right? So their suggestions are stop focusing on follower numbers and like counts. It's just distracting. If it's a big number or an unengaged people, then it won't matter. So experiment with not tracking that number. Try to find metrics that demonstrate the engagement of your audience. And I will give you an example of that. I have been doing Substack for quite some time now, and suddenly I started getting subscribers, and they were coming from certain particular places. Well, what that did for me was, I have an audience that is engaged in this particular aspect of my business. I need to make sure that I address that in every single show that I do, right? So you have to read your audience, and even if it's only 2 or 3, hey, there's 2 or 3 more out there. They represent, probably 50s or 100s, right? 10s or
Yeah.
50s or 100s.
Janice,
That's right.
you just nailed it right on the head as far as engaging with people.
Right.
You have to look and see what the impact is coming back.
Right. But what happens to people is they're on Twitter or whatever, and they're so focused on the amount of followers they have or the number of likes that they get.
Call it
that they
impressions. It's impressions.
right, that they forget about the fact that they need to engage. And speaking of engaging, Suzanne says Ed's picture frame behind him is very special. Everybody should love chickens.
I am sitting at my mom's kitchen table, and she's a chicken fan, so we have chickens
That's
around.
awesome.
That's funny.
That's awesome. So again, this is an example. Engage with your audience, right? When you
Sure.
that's important.
Sure, you wouldn't
And
want to.
dedicate, that's the next
Yeah.
thing on the list. Dedicate
Okay,
time
Ed,
to engaging.
We've eliminated roosters and we've eliminated.
Got to have lots of chickens now.
Yeah.
We have to make sure we include them in our conversation.
Well, they're all over this other wall across from me too.
So it says even
There's
if
a
you
clock.
only
There's a rooster clock.
take 10 minutes a day to engage with your audience, it will make a difference in your social media efforts. And I think that is part of what people forget when they're doing their books or whatever, and I can understand why, because you get all caught up in everything and I got to get more followers, I got to get more of this, more of that, and you're click, 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 click. And you're forgetting you need to talk to folks. You need to have those conversations.
There's that old, so when you have a pipeline and you're working in mortgage or insurance or whatever, there's that adage that, you know, it's easier to get business from someone you've already done business with.
Right.
It's someone you already know versus going out and getting new. And so it's best to amplify those, you know, off those, you know, instead of chasing air.
It's true. It's very true. And then, of course, create content designed to get to know your audience and create content based on what you learn. So those are the tips to why you want to have maybe a smaller audience. And this is my way of saying thanks to those who did follow. And some of them are readers, some of them are writers. And so I've tried to make sure that I appeal to those. And now, do we have a book blitz? Do you have a book?
Sure, you bet.
I kind of figured you would. Fire away. It's time.
Oh, you're going to love this.
There's the music.
You're going to love this. The book's name is Close Encounters, Volume 1.
Must be based on
The
UFOs.
abduction cases of Betty and Barney Hill, Travis Walton, and Antonio Villas Boza.
Oh.
If you're wondering about the possibility of there being life somewhere out there among the stars, then you're probably also pondering the possibility that life making contact with humanity here on Earth. It doesn't matter whether you're a believer, skeptic, or simply uncertain. The concept of alien abduction is just simply fascinating, and Volume 1 of Close Encounters by Duncan Murphy takes readers on an informative journey into the fascinating topic. This book explores 3 famous cases of alien abduction. The cases are Betty and Barney Hill abduction in 1961, Travis Walton abduction and his 5-day missing person case in 1975, and Antonio Villa abduction, bizarre case that occurred in Brazil in 1957. Again, Close Encounters, Volume 1
There it is.
by Duncan Murphy.
September 4th, 2018. That's not that old. It's,
Oh, huh.
you know, yeah. That's
Well,
a pretty-
especially when they're investigating things that happened in 1975.
Yeah, and our good old Amazon offers it to you on Kindle for Kindle Unlimited or a $2.99 buy. So there you go.
I think that'd be a darn interesting book.
Yeah.
Huh?
It would be. Yeah, it might
But,
be.
you know, I would...
But they don't have it on Audible, so you know.
I'm sorry?
They don't have it on Audible, so what can I say?
I thought they did.
Nope, they have it on Kindle, but they don't have it on Audible
yeah.
that I could
They
find.
could put that eerie music on it.
I know it'd be cool, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I don't see it on Audible, only Kindle and paperback. And I guess on Kindle, sometimes you can have it read to you. My nephew
is-
does that.
It is kind of entertaining though that there hasn't, or peculiar that there hasn't been an abduction story in 50 years.
Yeah, it's true, huh? It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
well, what I like is when you say, hey, I understand that you saw an alien. Yeah. Well, what'd you do? I got my deer rifle out and started shooting at him. Go figure.
Well, what are you going to do? You
Yeah.
know? I don't know. Did they come
I-
at you? I don't know.
Don't you ask them? You go, hey, you got some of that anti-gravity technology you could lay on me?
That's right.
I mean,
That's
I'd
right.
be asking for stuff, right? Because then, you can convert that.
Well, we're going to talk about different kinds of aliens next week. I take it you didn't have a book, right, Ed?
I do not.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure. We are going to talk about different kinds of aliens because we're going to talk about immigrants, actually, because we will have J.J. Carroll, who has written Invaded and also Treason. And he's very blunt. He was kind enough to send me his second book, which is Treason, which was released in February of this year. And he is a former Border Patrol agent. He has testified in front of Congress. He has he's done a lot of things to try to help expose what's going on at the not only the southern border, but also the northern border. So I think that you will find him quite interesting, and I hope that you'll be able to tune in next week. He'll be on about 3:15. He had another engagement. Was supposed to be on this week. Sorry, we couldn't have him, but we'll have him next week at 3:15. We'll keep him on as long as we can. Maybe we'll start a little later and be able to keep him on longer. So. All right, Ed, hopefully you can make it next week. And you too, Doug, I know that you got some traveling to do.
Yes, I
so,
do, yeah.
But hopefully you'll be able to be here, and we'll definitely be here
Well,
with
it was
JJ
really good
Carroll.
seeing Ed today, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was so good that he felt like you were actually here, Ed.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, nice.
No, I,
No,
I
this is
got
no
so
joke.
used to seeing you. I walked out front. I thought you were smoking your cigar out there.
I was just a different door.
He transported you. See, that alien technology works. It works here. We got it.
It is.
Sometimes I'm amazed at my own stupidity.
I'm surprised that he wanted to admit it on air.
I was going to say it's nice to be back with the three amigos.
Yes,
Yes,
it's
it
wonderful to have both you guys on. Hopefully, I'll see you both next week. But whatever happens, happens. We'll play it by ear.
That's perfect.
And I don't know. I enjoy, and thank you to our audience for joining us as well. And we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Ed.
See you guys.